To welcome you all to yet another special talk organized jointly by DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence and NIPM Coimbatore Chapter. On behalf of both DJ Academy and NIPM, I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Latha, founder and leadership coach, V.I.T.A.L Conversations, Chennai. Thank you, Dr. Latha, for gracing us with your audience and for inviting to speak on conversations that catalyze transformations. So a brief introduction to Dr. Latha. Dr. Latha catalyzes positive transformations. She coaches teams and individuals to lead, engage, and inspire action. As a founder and CEO of V.I.T.A.L Communications, Latha is on a mission to enhance productive engagement and positive leadership. In fact, Latha brings along 20 years of experience in training and teaching, working across corporates, education, and even social sectors. She has coached, trained, and taught over 2,000 millennial leaders to lead, engage, and drive positive transformations. Her approach is based on exhaustive research in positive psychology, organizational communication, millennial leadership, appreciative inquiry, and coaching conversations. And all this reflects in her book, Masterstrokes, Reinventing Leadership in Uncertain Times. Latha has captured the collective queries of her participants in her best-selling book, 21 Difficult Conversations, Tools to Navigate Your Most Important Talk and Master Exactly What to Say. Her accumulated credentials include the International ICF Credential in Coaching, ACC, a PhD in management, and her thesis on positive organizational communication. She's an MBA from Bharathidasan Institute of Management, Trichy, and she also holds psychology and MPhil in organizational communication. Welcome, Dr. Latha, once again. I also take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Sridhar, Chairman, Mr. Tilak, Secretary and Executive Committee members, NIPM Coimbatore Chapter. I also welcome Dr. Narayanan, Director, DJ Academy, faculty and students, DJ Academy, and attendees from the academia and industry. So welcome all once again. Dr. Latha, the floor is all yours now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Savitri. That was such a lovely welcome. Good afternoon, every one of you here. It's such a pleasure to meet, even virtually, so many people with the pandemic. That's getting to be a scarcity. And just by attending today, we have 67 already, and it's still going on. 67 of you being here itself means that you're ready for a kind of transformation by giving the most precious thing that we have today, your attention and your time, and that emotion to learn something new. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to quickly share my screen, and hopefully that will work properly. Dr. Savitri, does that work? Thank you. All right. So quick check before we start. I'm just checking in temperature of the room. What is it that you hope to get out of this session today? If you can type that in the chat box, that would be lovely. Dr. Savitri, if you can check the chat box for me. I'm not able to do both.
Yes, ma'am, I'll take it.
Thank you so much. So you can keep writing that in the chat box, and what would you want to learn today? And hopefully I will deliver them once I see what's in the chat box. Yes, I'm able to see the question answer there. Okay, productivity improvement, money. I hope I would answer that for you. So what I have in mind today, while the kind of transformation that I hope today's session can bring in is one, in our conversations, how do we build trust? How do we engage people and therefore influence and finally get work done? Now, these probably sound, similar because they look the same, but they are a process. Without one, we probably cannot do the other. So may I request everyone to mute in case there is a noise in the background? Thank you so much. What do you think is the true purpose of conversation? If anyone has an answer, please unmute yourself and answer that. What do you think is the true purpose of a conversation? Why do we talk at all?
To convey what we intend to convey.
Beautiful. To convey, to tell something. Anyone else?
Can you see the chat box, Latha?
I'm seeing that, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, to understand better methods, to share knowledge, to build trust, absolutely. So conversation, whether we like it or not, is the only tool that we have. It is human nature to converse, because no other living being on this planet can actually converse. They can communicate, they cannot converse. The difference, let me tell you, is if a lion is coming to the water, to the lake or the pond, the group of monkeys or zebras or elephants would all make these noises. They are all communicating. They're going to say, listen, the lion is coming. Okay? And that's all they can do. What human beings do is we tell what else is happening. We are able to converse what to do, what not to do. We are the only ones who are also able to say, I am with the lion or I'm with the zebra. We are able to form cult. We are able to form culture. We are able to form societies of large human beings because we are able to converse. And actually, biologically, we have paid a very heavy price by ensuring that our epiglottis is much nearer to the foot pipe, and the windpipe are actually much nearer to each other than in other animals. So if a small grain of rice goes this way, we will actually choke. And that is the price that we have paid to ensure that our vocal cords work in this way, and we can have a beautiful conversation with one another. Human nature, the very purpose of conversation, therefore, for us is to connect with another person, to continue this fantastic human nature that's in us, and look for new possibilities. In the process, yes, we share knowledge, we ask information, we share information, we share emotion, and we also share power and influence. As we can see in every other place, the last we hear is slavery is no more accepted in society. So therefore, we cannot whip a person to do some work that we want. The only way someone can listen to us is if we have the power to influence them. And therefore, conversation becomes extremely important for us, because otherwise, nothing. If we cannot do anything with our conversations, outside of the conversation, we obviously cannot do anything. So, as I said, outside of a conversation, nothing can happen. So this session will be more about how, therefore, inside the conversation, we can do things. A quick check here. Everyone, please work with me from here on. We will be doing activities to ensure how we understand our conversations. So there are, if you have a look at this pyramid, there are 9 conversations here. There are 9 conversations here. It is divided on the basis of the people we talk to. If you're talking to your own self, it's a very important conversation, because that is how we get self-motivation to do something. The action that happens inside us is because we talk to us and we listen to ourselves. If it is with 2 people, it is a dialogue. Then there are team conversations. There are community. Today, yes, there are virtual conversations as well. Conversations, when we think about in terms of purpose, it can be a hi, how are you? We just did one. When we see people at a party, when we see people in a networking event, when we are new to some place, when we are saying just a hi in our neighborhood, on our elevator, any place, and we just
class എടുത്തിട്ട് നാളെയും ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ഈ ക്ലാസ്സിലെ
that is a conversation where we're trying to engage people. There are conversations where we try to sell, we try to buy, we are in an interview, we are in a promotion meeting, we're in a team meeting trying to ensure what happens. As a leader, we try to share our vision and dream and hope the action happens down the hierarchy. We are a part of a team trying to convince the entire team to work to a particular activity or a project. Every one of these things are an influence conversation. The last one of it is action. When the conversation happens, there needs to be an action at the end of it. All conversations where it leads to an action is the purpose of that conversation. Priority-wise, we have two very important conversations, which is the high stakes. High stakes are conversations where at the end of the result of that conversation is very important for us. So we sit down in an interview. How the interview goes is very important. So that's a high stake. The high stake can also be a high emotion conversation. You're in a fight with someone. You want someone to understand you. You want someone to appreciate you is also an emotion. Love you is an emotion. You're angry with someone is an emotion. You don't agree with someone is an emotion. Someone shouts at you is an emotion. All of them are high stakes because the end of it, it leaves you either with a very big bulk of emotion or a huge result. There are low stakes. The low stakes are, in fact, if you see, they are on the top of my priority list. Unfortunately, that is one place where people let go easily. The high conversations, the networking conversations, the elevator conversations, the small talk, and just saying and finding out how people are. Simple conversations which don't really have something big, but it is this place which is the foundation that builds the trust. So those are my priority conversations. These are the 9 conversations. Now, what do I want you to do is, okay, let's create your conversation. Okay, so if you have a piece of paper, please take a piece of paper. A rough paper will be okay. If you're doing it on a computer and you want to do it on, open a Word doc, if you will, or you can just scribble it in one side of a paper. Technically, I just want you to take one piece of paper, fold it in half, that way. So we are all going to create our own conversations so that when the lesson happens then, and we're going through the session, we have something to look at and figure out how we can change it. So that in today, while I'm not able to see every one of you here, I hope that you can self-train yourself and do and still create some kind of transformation. So quick transformation, one conversation we will do. So paper in half. What do I want to do there? Okay, on your right side, write one conversation that you have had this week. Make it a very simple conversation. Let it be something which, what comes to the top of your mind when you think about one conversation that you've had this week. It can be, he said something. He said, write the dialogue. I said, Jaya said, Maya said. If it is even 4 lines, it is fine. You've still got something, a simple case study for you to work on in today's session. So quickly write down one small conversation. It can be a very amazing conversation that went well. It can be something very frustrating and anger inducing, or it can be something that you want to say and you have not said yet. It can be any one of these things. I leave it to you to figure out which any one of the 9 conversations are all right. Quickly, if you can tell me, just write down on your right side. If people have done, they can, if you've done, just quickly give me an emoji sign there. There's a thumbs up. I help. Thank you, Lokeshwaran. Okay, so we're getting in people who are finished. I'm going to give this just 20 more seconds and we'll go to the next one. Thank you. Thank you. So once you have written one conversation here on your right side, now, okay, quickly write down, think about this conversation that you had. For the conversation on your right, answer these things. What did you want at the end of the conversation? So before you went ahead to talk, what is it that you wanted at the end of the conversation? How did you feel? What would you feel? The 10 on 10 for this conversation, what would have been the 10 on 10 for you? If this was the best conversation, what should have happened? While talking, therefore, what actually happened in the conversation, when the dialogue happened, what is your feeling? It need not be results. It can be a feeling, you know. You can say, I felt I could not understand, or I felt that that person did not understand. It can be. I felt, whatever is a feeling that comes to you, you can write there. And the last one is, after the conversation got over, what actually happened? So what did you feel? What happened? Because you wanted something to happen before the conversation started. What happened after the conversation ended? Did it happen? Or what you wanted? Or what is your feeling at that time? Today, this quick piece of paper is going to help us learn about our conversations and the successes of it. And if at all, if there is an improvement, if we need to look at it. And if there is a better way to look at conversations itself. Thank you. I'm getting people who have finished. So for the sake of anyone wants to show that conversation there, I see a lot of names with A, B, D. People whose names start with A, B, or D. Anyone wants to who wants to share? You can just open your video, show it that way. It's your personal case study.
I'm sorry, is that okay to read it out? I've scribbled here.
Absolutely.
Thank you. My name is Biju. There was a small conversation which happened last week. One of my manager has called me and she just said me, sir, can you take a class? And I said that I can do, but what is all about? And the next thing is, she said that it would be a motivation class for the people of their department. And she said that they really deserve that at this particular point in time. And I said that, yes, I can do it. Absolutely no issues on that. So that was a conversation which I have written. And
Okay.
for the 3 questions, what did I want to be at the end of my conversation? What I want is, yes, I want to do something to them. Okay, I felt 10 out of 10 on that. And what actually happened while talking was understanding what they want. That was my understanding. And after the talk, what has happened is I really felt good that they believed me to take a class.
Beautiful. That's such a lovely, powerful conversation that you have shared, Biju. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. In fact, I would love to take up Biju's conversation itself for the positive side of conversations. Thank you so much. If you would permit, I will take that also as an example. I have shared a conversation which is on a more traditional manner, which happens. So here there is Jaya who says, I don't think we can meet the targets for this month. And Maya says, why, what's wrong? And Jaya says, the market conditions are bad, team is too new. I'm just giving 2 examples there. We need to relook numbers. And Maya says, that cannot happen. Work around these issues and I will help. Okay. Now, this is one of the these are real-time cases for me from past workshops that I have done. So this is one of them. In such a conversation, when we are looking at conversations this way, when we look at a conversation, we look at a traditional conversation like this. We identify a problem or a goal. So in the last 2 examples, Mr. Biju has shared the department coming and asking him if he could do a session on motivation. Okay, so that's an invite. The identification of the goal is asking if he could do, and also there is another goal there is a requirement for a motivation talk from a particular person. All right. Here, the entire conversation is on that problem of not being able to meet the numbers. So the problem looks only around it. And then what we do is we have certain gaps. So we figure out why there is a problem and what to do if there is a goal. And then you create and assign tasks for the gaps for the goal. Now, this is a regular traditional conversation model. And this doesn't work always for a simple reason that the focus is on the problem or the goal. The problem is not on the person. So if you see, the problem is on meeting numbers. Therefore, immediately the dialogue is oriented on the problem. And therefore, action steps sometimes don't get aligned with individuals. Mr. Biju, you loved the invite, and therefore that is a positive outcome of your conversation. Suppose Mr. Biju could actually talk on something far more powerful than just motivation at that point in time, then we have missed a whole session. And that is the power of conversation, the transformation that can happen that we don't allow to happen. So if we go back to if we go back to this place here, it could have been so much more transformational. We will look into the same conversation while we do the answer for this here. What happened in the conversation? What would Jaya have wanted? My first 3 questions were, what do you think she would have wanted? She wanted the numbers to change. Why? Because she felt that it's not possible to actually work that number for this month. Technically, from the feeling side, what she probably requires is understanding at this point in time, not actually the numbers. So she's probably feeling low. She requires a conversation that will ignite and motivate and maybe even influence her decisions, which did not happen there. And maybe she also needs to be told that you've been doing well this time and how you can look for success factors from somewhere else and move it here. So keeping a talk inside only a problem area ensures that we actually never move out of the problem area. Let us quickly see how that happens. Okay, I need 2 volunteers, please. 2 of you who can come. It's a very simple game. So please let me know who is coming. 2 of you, and we'll play a quick game.
Ma'am, myself Lokeshwaran, I'm interested.
Okay, Lokeshwaran. Lokeshwaran, and who else wants to come in?
Myself, Shanmugapriya, ma'am.
All right, Shanmugapriya, please, can you open your video, please? All right. Lokeshwaran and Shanmugapriya, we're going to play a quick game. Shanmugapriya, can you mute yourself? Right. Is that you? All right. Okay. Lokeshwaran, Shanmugapriya, we're going to play a quick game. This is for us to see how we can create a much better conversation if we do it in a positive sense, okay, and not look at problems. Now, the rules of the game are very simple. There. Okay, each one of you are going to take turns talking, okay? First step, individually, think of a place that you want to go as a weekend trip. Both of you think of one place that you want to go, leave the pandemic, just think we are in just regular, nice, amazing world. You can go anywhere. You're planning a weekend trip. Think about one place that you want to go. Ready? Show me a thumbs up. Okay, Shanmugapriya, are you ready? All right. Okay, now, who wants to go first? Lokesh? Yes, okay. Lokesh, now you will start the conversation this time. And Shanmugapriya, you two will keep continuing this conversation for a little while. So the only condition is, Lokesh, when you start, whatever you say, hey, Shanmugapriya, I think for the weekend we can go to, and you say your place. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Now, from where that ends, Shanmugapriya, you will have to, from here on, whatever both of you speak, your first word should be yes, but. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah? So whatever Lokesh says, Shanmugapriya, you should continue saying yes, but. When she ends, Lokesh, you should continue saying yes, but, and then continue the conversation. All right? We'll continue this. I would say a stop. Don't worry. All right? Start. Lokesh, you can go.
Hi, Shanmugapriya. Can we go for a trip in this weekend for Kodaikanal?
Hi, Lokesh. Yes, but we have a connect at our weekend program. So how can we continue in this week?
Yes, but we can plan on Sunday, right?
Yes, but Sunday is the only weekday we have to chill up that time. So can you say any long day trip? If we have 3 days or 4 days, it would be very convenient for us to go. So what is your opinion on that?
Yes, but but after Sunday, we want to back to college on Monday. So we can't miss our college.
Yes, but we want to see our college also. After the college is ending, we can have a trip. So what's your
Yes, but it is difficult to gather our friends after college is over. It is nice as we planned before our college days ends.
Yes, but we are a management students. We have to manage this.
Thank you so much, Lokesh and Shanmugha. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. That was very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we're just going to change this a little bit. Now, first to speak will be Shanmugha Priya. And you have your weekend place planned. Shanmugha Priya, you need to, yeah, open your video. Thank you. And now a small change in this dialogue. So once Shanmugha Priya starts, Lokesh, you will continue, but this time instead of yes, but, the words will be and then and continue.
Okay.
All right. So start, Shanmugha Priya.
Hi, Lokesh. So this weekend, what's your plan? Let's go to trip.
Place.
I have a plan to move to Kodaikanal. It is a one-day trip from morning to evening. So what's your plan?
And then what are the place we can visit there?
So we can move at morning and we can visit many places in and around Coimbatore, in and around Kodaikanal, and we can return at night.
Okay. And then we have to return to college to next day morning, so it will be tired now if we back on late nights.
Okay. If I can interrupt that, and then you need not use it like yes, but. Your emotion is still in yes, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you want to pause, you can give that pause and then look at and then as an emotion and then play. Okay. I think, do you see the difference? You want to start that once again?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Start.
Yes. Yes, start, Shanmugha Priya.
Ma'am, it is the only trip or any other conversation.
You can go to Venice and you need not go to Kodaikanal.
Hi, Lokesh. This Sunday, I have planned to visit our friend's home nearby in and around Kinathu. What your opinion on that? I plan to visit Asha's home. So what's your take on it?
And then what are the homes we can visit after Asha home? There are a lot of other friends also in Kanathu, right? So what are the other homes we can?
Yes, and then after visiting the Asha's home, we can pick up Asha and we can go to Kada's home. Any new ideas you can suggest me?
Yeah, and then we can we can gather up the friends there and we can go to movie also, right? Rather than
Yes.
visiting our home.
Yes, after visiting the movie, we all can gather in a single place and we can prepare our examination. Prepare to examination is coming near. We can prepare for exams.
And then it is not right to, in my aspect, it is not right to take group studies because studying separately will be suit for me.
Thank you so much. Lokesh, you went back to yes, but. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So just two simple words.
Yes,
If I force you to use instead of yes, but you're using and then, it automatically gives you a possibility of what more can happen instead of staying in one place and trying to dissect the same thing and figure out the problems and everything in one small place. So when we're thinking about transformation, we need to think at a larger picture, and conversations can help us do this. Imagine when two words, just a small change in two words, can bring about so much more possibilities. You have not even, that Kodaikanal trip never materialized at all. While here you have met 3-4 friends, had lunch, and also decided to do group studies. So a small change will bring in a lot more possibilities. Now, how do we bring about this kind of change in everyday conversation? That is what we need to see today. And why would we do that? Because when we're doing positive, and when I'm thinking positive, I'm creating a very big disclaimer here, because positive today in the social media, unfortunately, says this, smile always, look at the positive side only, do not tell the negative things, be very polite, be, not actually lead into those difficult, messy conversations. No, positive conversation is, I'm not selling these quick pills for happiness and joy and things like that. What I am saying is looking at conversations from the viewpoint of a future possibility, instead of staying in the present and actually dissecting only what is here. So positive is positive psychologically means the possibility of something new. And that is where positive conversations come in. So why do we need positive conversations? Because what happens when we are faced with anything negative? What would you do if a lion came in front of you? That's biology for us. We will either freeze in that point, we will run, or we will fight. And I'm so glad, actually, Captain Sendil Kumar, I'm sure he will vouch for what I have to say. It is exactly because of our human tendency to be, when the enemy comes in, we either run or we freeze, that the military gives us so much, the soldiers are trained so much, because during that moment in time when the enemy is in front of you, you cannot freeze. The adrenaline would obviously be there, and blood flows down to the limbs. That's biology, survival for us, and therefore we obviously cannot think. So the discipline is worked into the body of the soldier so that he knows that he has to fight and not freeze at that time. But this doesn't happen with us. So when we see negative, if you see, we hold on to that position. No, we have to go to Kodaikanal now. So slowly, it was only a trip weekend. Anyone can say anything. But then the minute we turn it negative, we become the option that we speak. I told. So there is no demarcation between the person and the problem. And that somewhere creates a friction for us to not move forward in any conversation. And therefore, it is very important for us to have positive conversations. If we should not be negative and not work at conversations from survival, how should our conversations actually be? So again, biology, because as I said, conversation is the most natural thing that comes for us as humans. We all see this butterfly and we all want to be that butterfly. You know, every time we see Steve Jobs, Sachin Tendulkar, Abdul Kalam, Elon Musk, we want to be like them. But the thing is, who influenced them to be that way? They are the butterflies, yes. How do we bring about these butterfly-like conversations inside our teams, in our classrooms, in our organizations, in our families, in our society? If you see, the most important place is that caterpillar that comes there and it moves into the butterfly, but there is this beautiful stage called the pupa stage. Anyone knows what happens in that pupa stage? Does anyone know what happens to that caterpillar in that pupa? Yes, please.
Wings will develop from that.
Okay. Anyone else? How do the wings develop?
Transformation.
Okay. So if you see, the butterfly shows metamorphosis, while we all were born very small, tiny things, babies, and we all grew in size and a little bit more of intelligence. But we are only growing. Only the butterfly is showing metamorphosis. Why is this difference in word? Is for a long time, I used to assume that the caterpillar goes there and just develops these antenna and wings and just comes out as a beautiful butterfly. But apparently, it does not happen that way. When the caterpillar makes itself that pupa, inside the pupa, it completely disintegrates to form just a glob of a goo-like cells, which are called imaginal cells. So if you slit open a pupa, you will just see some green color goo coming out. You will not see a caterpillar or a half-grown butterfly. From those imaginal cells, a complete new organism develops, which becomes the butterfly. Now, why is this important for us? Because I feel that every team member that comes inside our team comes in as that caterpillar. And it is our duty in my classrooms, it is my duty as a professor to ensure that I become this pupa. As a parent, I become this pupa for my kids. As a team member, I become a pupa for my team so that they can come here, completely disintegrate, unlearn, relearn, and have the freedom to transform into that butterfly. And therefore, I would not use the yes, but in my conversation that way, because I don't want them to go back to the caterpillar stage. I want them to come out to the butterfly stage. Now, how do you think this can happen? So it's beautiful to think, wow, I want all these things, but in an everyday conversation, Latha, how do you actually do it? Show me that in a sentence, and that is exactly what we'll do now. Where do I use it? I use it in every one of these things. So in sharing ideas, in brainstorming, you ask for ideas and the ideas don't come in, or you're in a meeting and there's a small talk. You're in a client negotiation. You want to ask something very courageously. Performance conversations, difficult emotional conversations, and in relationships, even in parties. I use it as a parent as well. I also use it in my classrooms. Now, what is a building block? So as we said, we have these three things, what did you want to say in the starting of the conversation? What actually happened during the conversation? And after the conversation, what happened? So those are the building blocks of any conversations: the intent, the actual dialogue, and the action after that. If all three of them are not in alignment, actually, that is when we don't see the transformation that could have happened. So just the intent. An intent is something where so before we actually go ahead and talk, what is it that you want to achieve at the end of this conversation is the first question that we need to ask ourselves before we actually start a conversation. So if we are selling something, then what is it that you want to do at the end of this conversation? If you're in an interview, what is your intent? If you are talking to a family member, to a friend, you're in a networking position, what is the intent of this conversation? And if we are able to do that, so when we ask ourselves, what do we want to do? We become aware of ourselves. The awareness is very important because there we will not have the emotional outburst. First thing that we negate is an emotional outburst. Suddenly you're getting angry. Suddenly you, if you say, I've lost control of what I wanted to say, that is because the awareness is not there. And if we are able to ensure that there is awareness, then we are able to negate emotional outbursts. And of course, there will be if we are able to ensure that the conversation is in the awareness and in the positive side, now that is a vital conversation. A negative, yes, will be malice and destruction. I'm sure that you know that. The place where we need to be careful is that ineffective positive conversation. For example, someone has done a very good job and you just say, hey, very good, congratulations, and you move on. This person does not know why you're congratulating exactly. What about it did you like? Therefore, how can he improve this something good? The same thing if it is given on the negative side. I don't think I like what you did that day. Again, is an ineffective conversation. It shows the person that something went wrong. What exactly is not told. So the awareness of, by the end of this conversation, what do you want? If you're saying to a team member, to a student, to your friend, hey, that was amazing. What is it that you want at the end of it? Even if something as simple as that is, you want this person to continue that positive behavior, which means we should probably acknowledge the behavior and not just say, hey, good, very nice. Yeah. So that is for every conversation. That's how it will be. Now you can think about the conversation that you have written down in your paper and see if the conversation you were aware of what you wanted to say. Was it on the positive note? Were you both aware, and was it positive? I do not like what you have done now is not a positive sentence. Imagine we are asking these very simple things and the conversation doesn't move on. Why are you late? Why something did not happen? Why the project was late? Why we have not met these numbers? The why is a beautiful question. It's the core of what we are. But if we make it into a defensive position, then we are losing the transformation in that question. Immediately when we say, why are you late? I mean, it can be any number of reasons. Traffic, tire puncture, got up late, something else. There was I can easily, and I think 17 years in a college, I can give you at least 50 reasons. It does nothing for me. It does nothing for the student. He will not improve tomorrow by this question. I gain nothing by it. The question on its own is, it doesn't create an awareness. Therefore, what is it that I want changed? And if I can make that as the question, that is the intent. What do I want tomorrow? I don't want this. If it is a negative, I don't want it repeated. If it is a positive, I want it repeated. So that is the awareness that we need to bring into our talk. The dialogue itself. Here, this is where the difficulty happens in the tell and the ask. So tell is ineffective, and when it is appreciative, it is only inefficient, but it's still appreciative. It will not lead to action, but it still gives a good feeling. So engagement levels happen in tell, but actions may not happen. Now, if we want actions, then it should be in that appreciative, and you ask the questions. So you involve the person who is talking to you. So there are three people in a conversation. You, the person with whom you're having the conversation, and the topic, which is your problem or the goal or what you want to talk. There are three people. Ideally, in the conversation, in this triangle, you and the person with whom you're talking to should be on the same side and solve the issue at hand. And if you're able to do that together, That is a perfect conversation for us. But to get to that place, we need to ensure that the dialogue is appreciative and we are actually asking. The asking here is that invitation to bring the person to your side of the table. Action. What happens after this conversation? Now, after the conversation, if we are seeing people who are, there are two things that need to happen. You know, when it is a conversation, there should be action. There should also be an engagement. So you finish the project and from tomorrow you and I are not going to talk to each other is a failed conversation. If the action doesn't happen, obviously that is also failed. So disengaged action is when we avoid talking to this person, but we finish that particular action. The worst is when there is no action and there is an avoidance. So that creates a silence or the violence factor, which is very difficult. We keep talking, but still no action happens. That is ineffective engagement, again, of no use. So a positive conversation is one which ensures that there is engagement in the team. There is a build-up to the trust. The conversation ensures that we have created some transformation here to future possibility. And at the end of it, there is action. So if all four are a tick mark in the conversation, now that conversation is a vital conversation. So that is how we will be doing this. So instead of going to the first, so we saw here the first, a traditional conversation looks at first as the identifying the problem or the goal and talking from that position. Instead of that, if we can first talk about what are the possibilities. Let us look at the possibilities here. So what has happened in your conversations? Look at the success factors first. If you have taken, I have specifically taken negative conversation for the example so that I can show you how we can turn it positive. Here, I don't think we can meet targets for this month. So here, what is the first visualization of possibilities? So if you were the manager there, as if you were Maya, what would you be doing? The possibilities in this place is for us to understand the motivation behind why Jaya is not able to meet the targets. Now, maybe she has done this, she has met targets and she's exceeded them and she's done a great job in the past. Therefore, the first option will be for us to look at, but we did maybe last year very well. How did that work out? You look at the positive side and you look at possibilities. So the V.I.T.A.L, which I said, V is first to look at positive, future-looking intent. What would you want? So you are first looking at, so how would you wish this were different? And from there, you start working behind and you create your dream in that place. And more importantly, you invite the person and the problem. So this is extremely particular for us when we're doing a performance conversations in organization, because we need to have a clear demarcation between the person who's the performer there and the problem and the target that he was supposed to have performed. So the KRA and the person are not one and the same. And the conversation should ensure that this demarcation is very, very clear. I am angry is different from I notice I get angry at this time, or this triggers an emotion in me. It ensures that you are different from the problem. Automatically, you don't start identifying yourself with the problem, and therefore you're more open to possibilities. So expanding this sphere of awareness of both ourselves and that of the other person. Here in the Jaya Maya talk, what was completely lacking was an expanding awareness of what the other person is going through. Why would she come and ask something that is, what is this she wants as support? How is she feeling? It is not just an action oriented conversation. It was actually a very emotional conversation, one that got missed. So that is where we transition to a deeper dialogue. Chess players, anyone here? Chess players? You can give me a thumbs up there and say yes, maybe. So if we have played chess, you will, we have all at least played a basic game of chess. If you see, there are two players, one with the white set of chess figures and the other with a black set, and we are having a game here. Okay, what do you think is the at the top level? What do you think is the aim of the game? What should happen at the end of the game in a chess?
At the end, you have to win.
One of them, exactly. One of them will have to win, and you have to ensure that the king is
knocked out.
Yes, king is knocked out. Beautiful.
Wow.
So player A is playing against player B, right? Yes, no?
A team is playing, in fact.
Player A and player B.
Yeah, okay.
So two players are playing against one another. Now this is how we look at conversations at a very top level. And I'm asking you to look at it a little lower. Now look at the chessboard again. The players, player A and B, both of them know the rules of the game. They know that you have to follow only these rules. If any of you have played chess with a 3-year-old, then you will know that they will suddenly change the rules and say, no, my horse can go however I want. Okay? And then they'll just keep the coin somewhere else. And it doesn't happen in a regular adult game. That means that both players are actually playing according to the rules. Now, therefore, they are maybe not really playing against one another. They are in it together. Let's go one level deeper. How do you think the great chess champions are playing? They are able to predict what the next person will do in the next move. And then this should be my move. And therefore they predict. So they are able to predict apparently 4 or 5 moves ahead. And then they are able to do this particular move. Imagine this. If you were to play with the same 3-year-old, I'm telling you, you can predict nothing because he will just lift that chessboard and run away. So when we think that we are playing against someone, technically, we are not playing against someone. As the game rises in its seriousness, as the game rises in its authenticity in an international contest, in an international game, people are able to predict up to 5 moves as to what the opponent can do, which means the two of them are actually in it together. Are they really playing against, or are they playing a similar game? This is how conversation is. This is how negotiation is. This is how every one of our relationship is. I know what is going to happen. I'm following a set of basic etiquette. I'm following a set of basic rules. I understand your feeling. We are going to generate something powerful in this place. So transitioning to a deeper dialogue means that you and I are not on opposite sides of the table, but actually we are playing the same game. And if we're able to understand this, then that transformation will very easily come in for us. Okay. So once that kind of conversation happens, when that kind of topic happens, the last part is to actually act on it. Now, action sometimes does not happen because it is not aligned with individual aspirations in that team, and the accountability, therefore, is not taken in. So if we are able to align the action, instead of assigning a task, if we are able to align the action with individual aspirations and then accountability, then that action will happen. And now in the last step, we should identify the problems in the past, the errors, and therefore not repeat them. So if you see, I have flipped the entire conversation. What went wrong should be the last part of a conversation, because in the first part, we are supposed to build the possibilities, the dreams, the trust, influence action, build all these things, and then say, you know what, but this did not happen last month. Why? And then let's do it, because now we have already built the trust, we have motivation, we have ignited conversations. Now you sit down and ensure that you dissect the problems of the past and ensure it does not happen, plug those gaps in. That should be the last step. If that is taken as a first step and the goal, then the transformation gets effective. Does that make sense? So that is my session. I think we have done a little bit more than an hour now. Thank you so much. I would take your questions now if you have them. I have a few on the chat box there. Many times I fail to communicate what I've planned to and realize once the meeting is over. So the first step, as I said, is to visualize the possibilities. If you plan at the end of this meeting, what is the 10 on 10 for me, then you will come prepared for the meeting. And during that meeting, if you are looking at ensuring that you are in the moment there and building on the possible ideas that happens during that meeting, then you also ensure that you've contributed to something larger. So let's say you have an idea and you want to pitch your idea in a meeting. Yeah, if you want to pitch your idea in a meeting, you first do your homework. So at the end of the meeting, first step, we visualize your possibilities. How at the end of the meeting would you want these possibilities and how will it reflect? Now, the second is the invite. This is the most important step specifically when we're trying to pitch any kind of idea, because you have to explain to the other person what's in it for them. Why should they accept? So you're inviting the other person to look at your idea, and you'll call this person also to look at an idea which is yours. Invitation, very important. If we just pitch our thought processes in a meeting and say, I want this done, it may probably not align with the aspirations of others, and therefore in the action stage, it may not happen. If we invite the person to look at our idea, a good possibility is also that there will be some more contributions to that idea, and you can probably do a much bigger concept than what you had when you started out in that meeting. And specifically, if the entire team also follows the same concept, then you will realize that you can build in on the same idea, not the yes buts, but the and then transform that conversation to something larger. And now, because the invitation is with everyone, the action will automatically happen because it reflects individual aspirations. I hope I've answered that. If you have any questions, you can unmute and ask as well instead of typing also. I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry. Sometimes we have conflicts on conversation. Okay, when it is in fact in a meeting also, there will be a couple of people and then they'll be talking, and especially in a board kind of a thing, you have a couple of people talking, and when a conflict comes, where to stop?
Okay, so a conflict is not a negative thing. So when there is a conflict, we need to figure out why the conflict happens again. Is it because people are not allowing or are they sticking to their specific thought processes and are not opening themselves to newer thoughts? Or is the conflict happening because there is a complete different viewpoint? And when the minute we say there is a conflict, it means that we are at two sides of the table. So how do we ensure that the person with whom you're talking to comes to your side of the table? Together you are building, you're looking at the problem that solves a conflict. So the reason why this will not happen is because before you try to influence in a conversation, you should try to build trust. We will never be influenced by people whom we don't trust. So trust building is an extremely important step. Build that rapport, build that trust before we try to influence someone else.
I agree, thank you.
Ma'am, I'm Lokesh Fran from second MBA.
Yes.
Ma'am, my question is how to evaluate our pre-planned conversation, like when we are making presentation. We will do some preparation, ma'am. How to evaluate that?
A presentation that you're going to do, is it?
Presentations and like speeches which we are going to give. Like we make some preparation, ma'am, before that. Like we may write down something in papers.
Okay.
How will we evaluate?
Okay, so any presentation or a speech, even if you're going to talk to your friends or team members, the first prep is from the audience side. So who is going to listen to you? So they are giving you the most precious thing is their time. Why should they listen to you is the first question that you need to answer. And therefore, what's in it for them? So if you have taken 10 minutes of their time, what is it that they get because of that 10 minutes? If you're able to answer that, then your presentation will automatically change to become something bigger. And the evaluating factors will be the interest that is there, how you have you been able to convey things correctly, succinctly? Have you been authentic in what you're saying? And if it is, and specifically look into the content. Is it something that people will, is it something that is really authentically new or engaging or entertaining, whatever is your motive for the reason for that presentation, if that reason is satisfied. So that is something which you will need to look into.
Okay.
Hi, ma'am. This is V.I.T.A.L, and I have one question. How do we handle an argument person in a conversation, ma'am? Adding to what Mr. Biju asked, maybe a conflicting person always likes to conflict with based on the situation, but an argument person is always very negative. So how do we approach such a person, and during that time, do we focus on the issue or on the person, the context, or if you could just throw a little more light on that, that would be great.
Okay, so whenever there is a high stake conversation, when I mean high stake is that the emotion is high, or if the result is very, very important. Okay, so an argumentative person comes under this place where the reason why a person specifically argues is because he is not able to create a demarcation between him and what he is saying. So he identifies himself with the point that he is making in that conversation. So the minute you give a different viewpoint, he takes it as a personal insult. Because he is not able to, create this demarcation. In your conversation, if you are able to, if you want to actually make him see this, then you may have to, there are two ways of doing this. One is ensuring that the words that you use don't in any way identify the issue with the person. Let me give you an example. Let us just say I'm saying that we should put blue color for the wall, all right? And you're telling me that we should put green color for the wall, okay? Now, the minute I start saying, the argument will happen when you stop thinking the issue is color of the wall to thinking that I said green, how dare she say no to me? That is when the maximum arguments happen, where the person is not aware that he has started identifying himself with the problem at hand. So I'm not saying no to you. I'm just saying no to the choice that you have made at this point in time. If you are able to make this as this in the conversation, if you're able to make the person understand, you win that conversation. The simple way will be that in your words, you never say his choice. You always say, how do you feel about green? Why do you like green? What is it about green? Why not the blue? Ask. So slowly, if you look at it only as the color of the wall, the problem, and never touch the individual, first thing, we are putting barriers down in a difficult conversation. Once the barriers are down, he will probably be able to see this side of the fence as well. The other way of doing this is to ask the person as to, or to make the person feel that he's good. And he has done, I remember you had suggested the color for something else, all right? And that worked out so well. Wasn't that purple though? Why are you stuck with green? And then he would say, no, I felt purple was very beautiful there, but purple is not something that I can use here. I think this is a green. Then you make him think. So now in arguments, people argue because the most dominant emotion is the ego. If you are able to turn the conversation to fact, to what is actually happening, then you are able to mellow down that feeling and you're able to look at it from the logical viewpoint. And by ensuring that it remains in that future possibility and asking, you have to ask, so how do you feel? Why the green? So why the thing? Why? And how about, do you think it will be okay if we can make it into turquoise? And then he'll say no. And then maybe powder blue. And slowly you're making him think in colors instead of thinking it my idea versus your idea. And slowly we are able to have some more progress in such a conversation. I hope I've answered that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was a great insight. But this technique holds good even for individuals who would like to have an upper hand in their conversation.
Absolutely. See, the minute we are saying an upper hand, automatically we are speaking me versus you. You see that? So if you have, it takes some time for teams to understand that the me versus you is actually a very it's not going to help anyone. But what happens is we need to rise above this. In my training programs, I would show how a team can slowly change their culture. It takes some time to move away from the me versus you. I'm telling, so therefore you just do. These are the words that should never be used, but then sometimes they get used. So the words we use, the thought process that we have, these are the things that creates those arguments. Sometimes it also leads to anger, to sarcasm, to thinly veiled politics. So it's just a continuum, but the reasons are still the same. It is the me versus you. So the only solution to such things is if you can bring the person to your side, and you and I are the same, we are solving a problem. That should be told. Inviting the person and expanding their awareness is the
Thank you so much.
This is Shanmugapriya, ma'am. My
Yes,
question is how to handle the negotiation with the boss.
Negotiating what with the boss? Can you give? Okay. So managing up, when we say, and this is something which I keep telling in my training programs as well. It is not always a necessity that your boss is a person who knows something, all things better than you. He can also be a person who is completely different from you. And today, with flatter structures, it is important for every one of us to learn how to manage up. Managing up is exactly the same way as we do every other conversation. We invite the person with whom we're going to have that conversation, and we visualize possibilities. So there is a big difference between that negotiation that we say and persuading others to look at our viewpoint. So the minute you say negotiation, the first thing we have to look from our side is, what is the beauty in that side? And if you're able to look at that, then you're able to create something bigger in this conversation. So remember, it is not the boss, and specifically, I'm assuming if it is a boss, then definitely he's a person who is a lot more experienced than you, and therefore it would pay to appreciate that experience that is there. So look into his points as well, and then create a, there is an A that you come in and there is a B that your boss says. There is a possibility of a beautiful C, and if we are able to make people look at that C, then we have won it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, ma'am. I'm Sindhura. Why people are provoked in negative conversations?
Okay. See, there are 2-3 things why we are provoked in a negative conversation. Is because technically we are a species which believes in survival. So as human species, we tend to look at negative first. It is an unfortunate cognitive bias that we all have. So it's very easy for us to look at that one negative than the entire positive. A dot in a white canvas, and we will look at the dot and not the white canvas. So that's us as human beings. The idea is to overcome this and look at the positive and the possibilities. And that is why that training and that education is important for us. We have to rise above the basic biological instincts that we have. We are naturally negative beings. We hoard. If you see, the rats do it, but we also do it. We have rodent, like, you go to a bus or a train or something, you'll immediately go and put that tag, and then that's us. We are that kind of people. We are a species which believes, okay, survival today, survival tomorrow. That is why we hoard our from money to food to grains to everything. We are rodents. It is biology, but to ensure that it doesn't happen in our teams, in our families, in our society, we need to rise above it and actually run positive conversations. It's a cognitive bias that we carry.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, Balaji. Balaji, you have muted yourself.
Yeah.
Mr. Balaji, can you be a little audible? Can you be a little louder?
Yes, yes.
No, I think something wrong with his audio connectivity.
I'm able to hear him.
Is it so?
Oh, we are not able to hear.
We are what kind of conversation is it?
He's loud enough, sir. He's loud enough.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
We could not hear here also, ma'am. I could not hear.
I'm not able to hear.
So,
Okay.
Maybe you can repeat the question, ma'am.
You can repeat the question for the benefit of the audience, Latha.
I've heard he has not completed the question actually. So in an interview process, be it junior, middle or senior management people, whatever is the intake, there seems to be a jitter, and after that I have not heard.
Okay, he's raising now.
If I may ask, are you talking from the side of the candidate or the interviewer? Okay, all right, both sides. Okay, so interview skills, I think we need to do a 1 hour session for them separately. But to answer that, jitters are not a bad thing if you ask me. That just shows that I am.
Latha, if you don't mind,
yes?
maybe know the question because we couldn't hear you.
Oh, all right. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So Balaji's question is,
yes.
regardless of where the interview happens, that is for intake of junior, middle, or senior management, there seems to be a jitter and from both the sides of the interviewer and the interviewee. So how can we ensure that this talk happens, like it does not get cut short in 10 minutes and actually a good conversation happens?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
All right. So from the side of the interviewee, ideally, in my opinion, it is the interviewee who wants the job, and it is the interviewer who is doing the selection. Therefore, the onus of ensuring that you put your best foot forward and you are ensuring that the interviewer is decently interested in you to hold a conversation for 30-40 minutes is up to the interviewee. One reason why this may not happen is maybe they have figured out that whatever, the fit is completely wrong, which means a research beforehand was probably not done. Now, once you go inside that conversation and still if the interviewee is not doing it, now from the side of the person who's going through the interview, we live in the world of social media. Ensure that research is done beforehand. Ideally with good research, and if you have prepared very, very well for your job interview, and you ask courageously and you answer authentically and you are a good fit for that organization, then the interview, you should be able to control it. In fact, you are the one who can actually, you have it in you to tell what is the next question that person should be asking. So because they're asking only about you. So if that has not happened, it means a preparation somewhere has not happened. The first step, visualize what do you want at the end of the conversation, and therefore exactly how should this conversation go has not happened. Preparation.
Latha, shall we wrap it up?
All right. So if it is a particular person, then you'll have to figure out why the jitter happens, and we'll have to talk to that person and then try and solve that issue. So that is, to each person, that fright can be different, and that why a high-stake conversation is getting difficult to manage is different for each person. So there are many reasons for it. And I think Professor Narayanan, we can wrap this up now.
Yeah.
Permission, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Latha.
So you guys can reach out to me at any time. Those are my contact details. I run this as a workshop as well, both in person and virtual, for small groups, because this has to happen as an, you need to see the transformation in that team. So therefore, a maximum of 25 members if it is a in-person workshop, and maybe 10 people to 15 if it is virtual.
That's right. May I request Mr. Tilak to propose the vote of thanks, please?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Really a pleasure to propose the vote of thanks for such a wonderful session. Actually, it is very important to say that, ma'am, you have clarified what is the difference between conversation and communication. That is the kind of, and one more wow moment I get it from this session, ma'am. Actually, this now in this Corona period, the positive word become a completely negative. So you have bring that new terminology for positive is a future possibilities. Actually, it is directly goes into my mind. That is the great thing. And now I could really understand why your conversation very clearly very thought-provoking thing. Actually, the visualize, invite, transition, and action and learning. This is the wonderful thing, ma'am. And we also learned that virtual conversation is intent should be positive plus aware, and dialogue should be appreciative plus ask, and action should be action plus attractive. It's a wonderful understanding from that, ma'am. It is a really a great session. The building blocks, how you come up with a complete building block. Actually, in a single word, I could definitely say, ma'am, you completely build the trust and engage us completely, and then influence us, for a longer period of time. And yes, rest of the things we have to get into work. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the wonderful session. Yes, this is the good time. This kind of session is very much required in all the organizations, because after March, there is a goal setting process and giving and receiving process. So there are thought process, how to give the feedback, and then how to along the alignment. This kind of important sessions will help us a lot in all the organizations. Thank you very much, Dr. AGV Narayanan, for arranging such a wonderful session on behalf of DJ Academy for Managerial Excellence, and Dr. Sridhar from NIPM Chairman, Coimbatore, and all DJ Academy students and colleagues. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tilak. Thank you so much. That was such a lovely wrap up. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Latha.
Thank you so much, Narayanan.
Yeah. Nice of you.
Thank you, Dr. Sridhar.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Latha. Thank you. It was an interesting session. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Narayanan. Thank you, Dr. Sakshi. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Bye.